Good morning. I hope you can hear me behind this mask and all this gear. It's a cold morning in Ohio, and I'm here waiting for the birth of my granddaughter. And she was due a couple of days ago, so it's exciting. First granddaughter, first biological granddaughter. I have a lot of grandchildren with my boyfriend's family that I love dearly. But this is different. This is a first, and it's special for me. And this is day 45 of walking early in the morning. I mostly do that with my boyfriend, but we're here in Ohio. I'm here in Ohio without him, so I've continued the tradition. That's a very new tradition. I guess this everyday thing, but walking's not new. Walking and hiking and getting outdoors is good for the soul. And I thought I'd try to do a little live stream and share some thoughts about, on a Sunday morning, some thoughts about what I'm learning in my morning walks. And really in the last few months, I've been going through a bit of a shift in my, a calibration, I guess it might be a better word, of the work that I'm doing, and in particular the focus of the work. And I thought it might be helpful for people to know that, because I do know a lot of you out there on LinkedIn and Facebook in my friend group. You do know me. You know me from, some of you from high school, some of you from first jobs at Anderson Consulting, which wasn't called that then. It was called, which is Accenture now, which was called Management Information Consulting Division at Arthur Anderson and Company when I started in 86. So that ages me, right? I'm looking around and I'm trying to look for a sunrise or before dawn shot to give you in a moment, but I'm in a neighborhood, so it's, you're going to see a lot of trees and cars and sidewalks, but you can see that this time before dawn, before most people get up, can be a very precious time and a very beautiful time. And there we go. We get a little bit of a further shot. And being grounded and connecting to the earth is, for me, it's very important. I've noticed, and that when I spend too much time behind my computer, I lose some perspective. So, so back to this, friends out there, you kind of know me, you know me from different phases of my life. You know me from high school, college, Anderson, Nelcomis, the Nelcomis Project. Anybody out there from Nelcomis, give me a shout. The Naval Aviation Logistics Command Management Information System project that Anderson did out of the Los Angeles, Stanford, and DC office back in 86 through 90-ish. I was on that project for 2.5 years. It was sort of like going and getting, sort of like boot camp, a lot of learning in a small amount of time. And, it's interesting because that project was actually my first change project in a sense, because we were creating a new system that was going to be implemented across the Navy, Marines, the aircraft logistics command parts of those branches. And so the parts that fly planes and repair planes. And I remember thinking about, the change that was going to happen for the folks that were going to be using this new system. And I remember particularly because I was listening to user requirements, their hunger back then. And I was working with Vic Data and Jim, I can't remember his last name, two end users, retired Marines. And they were talking about it was imperative for aircraft uptime and maintenance. It was imperative that we find a way to program in cannibalization of hangar queens, those aircraft that were sitting in the hangar that might be the last source of an important part that was needed to get another aircraft up and running, and that we needed to be able to account for that. And, I don't think it was in the specs per se of the original system, and it was something that apparently they'd had a hard time convincing anybody else to do. So I became an expert on aircraft cannibalization and inventory, the inventory implications of that, because they wanted to order the part that they took off the hangar queen to put back on the hangar queen, so that in case they needed it for next time. So a hangar queen, I guess, is an aircraft it's sort of not going to go up again, most likely, but is there and available for things like this. So anyway, change. I've been working on change a long time, and at IBM I worked on first a lot of IT projects when I went from Anderson to IBM. Worked at Niagara Mohawk, now National Grid, on a customer information system. So technology systems, they do affect change. They do require, they do come from a need for change, usually for efficiency and accuracy. And they require change of end users who have always done things a certain way, who will now need to learn new skills and capabilities and mindsets and processes to do the things that they've always done. So change is one of those things that I've been working with and dealing with kind of my whole life. My right hand is getting super cold, so I'm going to put my glove on, because otherwise it's just not going to be good. It's, I think it's about 20 or 30 degrees. All right, got it on. So, why am I telling you all this? I don't know. I guess it's because to let you know that I've always been, for a long time, I've always been somebody that can understand technology fairly well, good at math and science, but who really also can understand the human being and the challenges that and gifts that people have to grow and learn and change. And when some of those changes are massive and people don't understand why we need to make the changes, it's very difficult for them to muster the energy and the willpower to step in proactively and become part of that thing that maybe some people want to change, some people believe needs to change, but they don't really understand it. They don't have that longing or need in their own in themselves. And at work, you can say, well, hey, it's your job. But that's why we have 70% ish, maybe not quite that many of workers who are disengaged or partially disengaged at work, because they're being asked to do things that they don't understand, they don't buy into, and that they're not passionate about. And now they're leaving. Many of them are choosing and looking for, and in a seeking state, right, for what they do want. So I grew up on a farm, but my second growing up was in the corporate space, because all of the time when I was with Anderson and IBM, it's part of a big company. And then I went to Schneider Electric for the last 4 years of my career, and we were working on also very big I was in a global role working on rolling out this idea of selling green building solutions and smart city solutions to cities, with buildings. It's to building owners or real estate companies. And it was fired up for me. Those particular changes, I had an internal fire, and I still do, to do that work because I care about the long-term health of our people and our planet. And I believe that we have a lot of improvements that we can make, a lot, to be more intentional and choiceful and have a long-term view whenever we create a new product or system, or whenever we actually just look in the mirror at our existing products and solutions and do the hard work to do something called a life cycle analysis. What's the impact of this product that we're selling to the world, whether it's a piece of, it's a t-shirt, or if it's an aircraft, or whether it's an aircraft carrier, or, whatever the thing is that we're selling into the world, Bitcoin. What's the life cycle cost of that item? What does it take to produce it in terms of energy, water, raw materials, and what kinds of waste and CO2 emissions come from that process? And how long will it be in service? Is it repairable, upgradable? Does it have use for the long term? Was it built to last? Was it built for recyclability? And was it built for sort of upgradability? All of these questions really are things that, as leaders, as engineers, those of us that want to kind of have an engineering background, these are big and important questions that we can bring every day to work and work on stuff that's really, really important. And that, figuring out what, like for me, that gives me energy and inspires me. And that kind of work makes me feel like those 40, 50, 60 hours a week that, I've averaged throughout my career, that time matters. It's not punching a clock. It's not, it's not just, I'm doing this to take care of my family. It's not, putting my time in so I can have a great weekend and go to the football game. It matters. It is the core of my contribution here on planet Earth. If you think about it, I mean, those things, what are the products and outcomes we bear through our paid work? And what are the products, outcomes, and impacts that we nurture in our children? I think those are the two, and in our close relationships. What value do we bring as human beings? How do we express our unique gifts and insights and intelligences, all of which are literally very different? What I bring is so different from what you listening out there would bring to your project or your child or your family. But I do believe it's a responsibility that we each have to cultivate our ability to respond, to have an impact, to bring forth our best selves, and not sort of limit our capacity to what we're told we should be doing, or the job description at hand, or the way it's always been done. And it's so hard to shift sometimes into that mindset of being self-actualized, or taking ownership of the impact that you want to have in the world because of the way that most of us grew up, sort of following a path that's carved out for us in society, going to school, following the rules or breaking the rules, intentionally being a bit of a rebel there, some of us. And then, what do I do next? Well, maybe I'm supposed to follow my father's footsteps and my mother's footsteps and become a doctor or become a farmer or you name it. But in reality, we are not our mother or father. We are not our teacher or our role model in school or our coach that cared and nurtured for us, if we were lucky enough to have that kind of a mentor and coach. We are uniquely us. So why I love coaching and working with individuals and teams is because I really work with people who are ready to go that next level and unlock that potential that they have inside of themselves, that if they actually step into this fuller sense of capacity and purpose, like they have the capacity, they have the yearning, they have the hunger to do more. If you let yourself, you have the hunger to do things differently. Then life takes on a whole new level of meaning. And work, it's work, but it doesn't feel so much like work. It feels like good work, like work worth doing, like, motherhood's work, but it's work worth doing and worth doing well. And no, there's no instruction manual and there isn't for probably what you're best at either. So that's why two things, inside out and outside in. Outside in, I'm looking at what's going on in our world and I'm seeing quite a lot that really makes me sad or angry or frustrated. And that means there are problems to be solved and opportunities to make things better out there. And then I'm looking inside of myself and I'm saying, what do I have the capacity? What do I want? What am I hungry to? How do I want to contribute? Where do my skills come in where I can uniquely bring value to a certain set of problems or challenges? And when I left Schneider Electric in 2014, I made a conscious choice to go from leading within the system as best as I could, and I was in their Smart Cities US team at the time at Schneider, to as part of a large team, right, to being able to go out and work on this area of human systems change and development and leadership development and collective leadership, so that I could hone my own skills and then work with teams and leaders who are really ready to step into that next level of leadership, because I think that that's my sweet spot, if you will, one of my special things. Okay, now I have to show you this. I think you're going to be like, wow. You see that? It's cotton candy out there. The pond. We got a big pine tree here. We got deer straight ahead of us. You probably can't see them, but they're out there. There's two of them standing right in the cornfield, sort of in the middle by that I don't know, circle of trees and bushes. Oh, there's more. Off to the right, 1, 2, 3, running towards the woods. You can see the white tails if you've got a good enough. There's more. Yeah, quite a few. A whole herd of them heading towards the woods. So I'm going to have you look at the sunrise with me, and before dawn, I want you to really tap into the legacy that you want to leave, the impact that you want to be known for. And I know the first thing most of us will say if we're parents or grandparents is that we want to make a difference to our children. and our grandchildren. That's great. That's legacy. And that's way in the future. Now I want you to think about what you do every day at work. 8, 10 hours a day, 40, 50, 60 hours a week. I don't know. Maybe you work part-time, 20 hours a week, 20 hours volunteering, whatever your work is. What's happening in your current human system that you work within? Your team, your organization, your industry. So think about that. A team is a subsystem of a division, is a subsystem of a large company, is a subset of an industry. And think about the value, the long-term value and impact of the decisions you make every day. Now, if you work in customer service, you might think, well, I don't know. I mean, I'm working on firefighting all day long. But you're a set of eyes and ears for the entire company and for the industry of what's working and what's not working. So as a part of a larger system, we're always having an impact on the overall well-being and success of that system, of that team, of that organization, of that company, and of the industry. And so you have agency, you have the capacity to make decisions every day, to make things better for your stakeholders. Yes, your family are stakeholders, and yes, maybe your customers, if you're in a customer-driven industry, are stakeholders. But future generations are also stakeholders. So what would you love to be able to do better? What really drives you crazy? A good place to look is what de-energizes you or sucks the energy away from what you do every day, and what energizes you and makes you feel good, gives you the energy to do more, so that you can tune up your inner guidance system for what really matters to you, and deepen your sense of clarity on your values. Because whenever something de-energizes you or makes you angry, pisses you off, what that generally means is that there's a value in there that's not being honored. So a good way to understand what your values are is to pay attention to what makes you angry, or what pisses you off, or what sucks your energy. Maybe it's justice. Maybe you see something happening that's just not fair at work, and so you have a value of justice, justice for everyone. I don't know, or maybe you get really frustrated because you have a coworker or a boss or a child who just won't listen to you. They don't hear you. They don't respect your voice. They don't respect your ideas. Well, then being heard and mutual respect is a high value for you. So if you can get clear about your values and then begin spending more time working from that place of values driven, and then work towards sort of like purpose. What's my purpose right now? What am I here to do right now? In this particular year, in this particular part of my career, what is my best, most compelling, why I get up in the morning? And, that might take a while to figure out, especially if you haven't been thinking about these kinds of things at all. So actually, that is why I'm launching a 28-day challenge on February 1st. It's a super simple challenge. And if you go to LinkedIn or Facebook, you can find details about it. But you can also do something really simple. You can write down these 3 questions every day in a journal, a unique journal that's only for this purpose, or for maybe your leadership insights. Write down what energized me today, and pre-write, not bullet point, pre-write for 5 minutes, 6 minutes on that. What energized me today and why? Because you got to get, some details there. Why? Who was I with? What was the impact? So journal about that. And then question number 2, you write this in your journal. Same thing. What drained me today? What sucked the energy away and why? Did I get angry? Did I get triggered? Am I just tired? And what's causing that fatigue? And really go to that truth, like really examining, becoming self-aware of what's giving your energy and taking it away every day. And then the third question is, what did I learn today? What did I learn? Something that worked, something that didn't work, or maybe just in the journaling itself, you learned something about yourself. You do that for 27 days in a row, 15 minutes total a day. I suggest you put a time on your calendar. And that time on the calendar is best to be at the end of the day so you can reflect on your day. So either right before you leave work if you want to focus mostly on work, or maybe right before bed or right after dinner. But make it a ritual like this morning walking. I get up no matter what the weather between 6:30 and 6:45, and I try to get out the door by 7, because in the end, it's worth it, folks. It's worth it to have a broader perspective on what's true now. It is worth it to know what you actually are hungry for and what's draining your energy and what's giving you energy. And then on the 28th day, what you'll do is you will spend an hour. And you might make a date with yourself, and if it's safe, go to a coffee house, or if it feels better to just have coffee in a nice little corner of your home, or a glass of wine, or a glass of sparkling water, whatever's right for you. Take an hour, take your journal that only has this in it for the last 27 days, and read your journal. Cultivate, first of all, take in the insights that came from your mind, your heart, your experience. And then cultivate wisdom from that. Make meaning of the last 27 days and write a headline. So the question will be a little bit different. What did I learn this month in the last 28 days? What did I learn this month in February? That's the third question, actually. What energized me this month? And what drained my energy this month? And so you can see why the third question is, what did I learn this month? Now, it will feel like going to the gym sometimes. You won't want to do it. You'll say, this is a waste. Or you might even be really like, oh my gosh, why is one list so small and the other one so big? Why can't I figure out what energizes me? So there are some tips and hints. And there's also a great podcast you can listen to by Drew, D-H-R-U, I think it's Purodi. And he's interviewing the author of The Third Door. And they have a great conversation about his 30-day challenge, which is very similar, almost the same questions. He asks the question, what made you enthusiastic, or what enthused you today? I just use the word energize because it makes more sense to me. It's a very compelling, though, if you need inspiration, it's a very compelling podcast to listen to. And it's about, I think the title of the podcast is something about finding your purpose in 30 days. And I will not guarantee you that you'll find your purpose in 30 days. I don't necessarily think that for most of us that we can find it and we can articulate it in 30 days, not just doing this. But you will shift, because when you're so self-aware, and you also become more systems aware of what caused it out there in the group of humans that I work with every day, or in the world, in the nightly news. You'll become both more self-aware and conscious, as well as systems aware and conscious. And you will begin to make small shifts throughout the month. There's no doubt in my mind that when you see the same thing on your de-energized list for 3 or 4 days in a row, your inner compass, your inner guidance system is going to kick in and say, I don't think I'm going to watch the news tonight. At least not that particular way of getting the news. Or, you know what? I think I'm not going to have that conversation in that way with my boss. I think, let me find a better way. So small things will happen throughout the month that should likely make things a little bit better, micro shifts. But hang in there. It's like going to the gym. It's a ritual. It's a commitment. It's sacred, and anything that's sacred requires, because you're listening, right, from a deep, deep place to yourself, and that requires a little bit of sacrifice. So I encourage you to do that, and let me know how it goes. And if you want a support group to do that with you in the corporate space, and I guess it doesn't matter if you're in corporate or not, but I run a Monday morning power up. By the way, it's called the Tune In and Tune Up Challenge. I run a Monday morning power up. It's really noon Eastern. Every Monday on LinkedIn. It's actually on Zoom, but LinkedIn is where you can get the information, and I'll make sure I put the information in the comments a bit later so that you can find out how to join this free Monday call for change makers. And so the context is, we're here to make a difference somehow at work. Is my focus. How do we make a difference at work? And we'll work a little bit with this challenge. I'll explain it more on Monday. I'll probably cover a lot of the same ground, to be honest. And then we'll also work on other things around change. We'll be talking about comfort zones, hunger, and compelling purpose, which are part of a model called the Bigger Game that I use a lot. We may be tuning into some of Otto Scharmer's work in Theory U, and levels of listening and levels of conversation. I'm not sure how much of that will be, in the next month, but certainly throughout the year, we layer in a little bit of learning once a week, and then we always walk away with a bold action. So that's the goal, to re-energize, revitalize, get connected to your purpose every Monday as a change maker, as a leader, as a wannabe, like I want to make a bigger difference kind of person. And then identify one bold action for the week that's beyond your normal to-do list, that's beyond business as usual, that maybe feels a little that definitely feels a little uncomfortable, but also exciting. So thank you if you're still listening, thank you for listening. And maybe I'll see you Monday, and certainly message me, put your thoughts in the comments, and find a way to make every day a little better. Maybe you're going to start the morning sunrise walk instead, and that's awesome. Just to hear from you. So I'm going to do my other part of the ritual, which is yoga in this particular field. Just a little bit of stand-up yoga. Sunrises, well, it's supposed to be rising right now, but it's a little hard to see. So thank you, and have a wonderful day.